That is a problem clock, that one. It doesn't,
Yeah, just pretend you're in Saskatchewan.
you know, I'm gonna say the wrong time, right? When we adjourn, it'll be like
Sorry?
7 o'clock. When we adjourn.
Yeah, but Saskatchewan doesn't change your time.
No, Saskatchewan's our time now.
Marco, go ahead. We're good. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting for March 11th, 2025. I'd like to remind the members of the public in the gallery during a council meeting to adhere to the conduct set forth in the council procedural bylaw and displayed near the entrance of council chambers. I will call the regular council meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And just a note that Councillor Coulter will be joining us remotely this evening. Starting with the land acknowledgement, Blackfalds Town Council acknowledges that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. Council's had a chance to review the agenda tonight. Are there any additions or deletions from council? See none. We do have one from administration.
Yes, if we could remove business item 6.6, request for decision, Regional Collaboration Committee.
Thank you. Moving 6.7 up to 6.6. Does any member of council wish to exempt any item from the proposed consent agenda before the adoption of the regular agenda? Seeing no exemptions, seeking a motion to adopt the regular agenda for March 11th as amended. Councillor Schwab.
I'll move to adopt the regular agenda for March 11th as amended.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Can I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda for March 11th as amended or as presented? Councillor Dennis.
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda for March 11th.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. We have no public hearing this evening. We do have a delegation. We're joined this evening by a whole gamut of people from Big Brothers Big Sisters Lacombe District. I'll welcome you up to the front, Brianna and Jennifer.
Hello, yes. So I'm Brianna, and this is Jenna, and we're with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And thank you so much for having us here this evening. We also just want to thank the Blackfalds Town Council for all the support we receive throughout the years that we've been in mentoring. So we've been in the mentoring world since 1989, in case any of you'd like to know. I just also want to recognize the significant impact that the collaborations have had, including the collaboration with Family and Community Support Services and the grant funding that we've received over the past years in collaboration with Town Council. So thank you so much. And we wanted to just talk about our impact report from 2024 and look into the years as we move forward and what we can do in the mentoring world for children and youth in our communities. So in 2024 was a year of growth for Big Brothers Big Sisters again. We've seen significant growth since post-COVID, since 2021. And we were able to serve 443 youth in our mentoring programs throughout Lacombe County, and 211 of those youth were from the town of Blackfalds. We were able to introduce one new mentoring program in the community, and we were able to provide 9 different types of mentoring throughout the community of Blackfalds. We are continuing to pivot in real time through surveys, through ongoing observation and support, and through community feedback to provide the type of mentoring programs that the community needs and wants, whether it's in school, out in the community, and really trying to give back and support youth to grow and become healthy, active citizens and happy. And now I just want to transition it over to Jen so she can talk about some highlights from 2024 and the impact that we've seen firsthand.
Yeah. So starting off, just sharing a little bit about our program numbers from 2024. So our group programs, which are Healthy Bodies, Healthy Minds, and Game On, these are group programs that are ran in the schools, and they focus on communication, well-being, healthy friendships, healthy relationships, sports, movement, and much more. And in 2024, these programs supported 189 youth, which is a 25% increase compared to the 2023 program numbers. And then the next one is our Kids and Cops Summer Day Camp, and this is in partnership with the Blackfalds Peace Officers, RCMP, and Lacombe Police. And this program provides youth the experience to police scenarios, team building activities, crime solving, and again, much more. And in 2024, this engaged 9 participants from the community. And then there's our Adopt a Family program, which matches donors with families in the community who provide them with their Christmas wish lists. And this assisted 11 families, and many of these were referred to us by schools, which were then connected with Big Brothers Big Sisters for the very first time. And then there's our community-based mentoring program, where volunteer mentors meet with their mentees out in the community for 6 to 8 hours a month. And then there is the in-school mentoring program, where the volunteer mentor goes to the schools for 1 hour a week to mentor a youth within that school. And now just a little bit about program successes. So in 2024, we launched a pilot program at the junior campus. And this was just to enhance mentoring opportunities for youth of a little bit of an older age. And then this is also when conversations began with the Iron Ridge Secondary Campus about launching a teen mentoring program. So this is where the teens from the high school would go to the elementary campus for 1 hour a week and mentor youth within that school. And next, I'm just going to share a few lines from a letter that a parent of a youth in our community-based mentoring program wrote. So this parent said, "When I decided to enroll my son in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, my intention was to provide him with a positive male influence who could offer him some additional support and guidance. And his big brother has been just that. It has been truly rewarding to see the positive impact that my son's mentor has had on his life. Together they engage in various fun activities such as golf, basketball, or just playing video games. My son always looks forward to seeing his mentor, and they both always return home from spending time together with huge smiles on their faces and uplifted spirits. The genuine joy they share when they are together is heartwarming and suggests the beginnings of a beautiful lifelong friendship." And then the last little bit I want to share with you is just community involvement. So we engage local businesses through our campaigns like Turn the Town Teal and 40 Mentors in 40 Days. And these take place during September, which is Big Brothers Big Sisters month. And it really just advocates for Big Brothers Big Sisters, helps us with volunteer recruitment, and really just gets word out there about who we are and what we do. And these are just crucial for our program success. We also have school partnerships. So the school liaisons and administration play a vital role in group mentoring efforts, as they're the ones that we are connecting with to set up the days, the times, the youth that are being enrolled in the program. And then for fundraising events, so in September 2024, we hosted our first annual rubber duck drop here in Blackfalds. And this just really created awareness and generated funds to remove barriers to mentoring. So with these incredible stories and milestones, we are excited about the future.
So at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we believe in the power of 4. So that means that collaborative effort on building developmental relationships through Big Brothers Big Sisters programs. The community is another part of that vital role, creating advocacy, volunteerism, and being able to give back through donations and supporting our fundraising efforts. And then a network of support. So we just want to create more networks with other community organizations to make sure we're meeting the need of those youth in the community that we serve, and continuing to be able to say yes and pivot where needed to be able to provide the best resources possible from our organization. So we're building momentum here in 2025. It's shaping up to be a pretty transformative year for us as an organization. We have already set up group mentoring so it's called Game On and Healthy Bodies, Healthy Minds in all the grade 5 classrooms here in the town of Blackfalds. We have launched Iron Ridge Secondary Campus at the Iron Ridge Elementary School. That teen mentoring program will be starting this week, Thursday. Yay! So that's really exciting. Today we even were able to run a health session at the Iron Ridge Junior Campus in support of kind of what we know through our mentoring programs and our group mentoring. We're able to facilitate a session there today with some of our staff that are actually in the room today. They did that, so it's exciting. And then this week next week we're meeting for our Kids in Co-op Summer Day Camp programming, so we're really excited to get that off the ground again. And we have set dates for our 2nd annual Rubber Duck Drop and our 5th annual Walk for Kids' Sake fundraiser to help support our mentoring programs. As we continue to expand and serve the community, again, these fundraisers are really vital to make the impact that we can, and every dollar goes very far into our programs, as you see in what we shared in our impact report through statistics. And I was actually in 2014, so I would assure you that those statistics will be higher. Every $1 invested into Big Brothers Big Sisters programs brings about $23 back into the community through the youth being, as they grow into adults, being healthier citizens, having healthier relationships, being more likely to volunteer or donate and give back. So lots of different ways that it provides input into themselves as an individual, but into the community at large. And so we're just here to say thank you for all you do and talk about the opportunities for collaboration as we move forward. So providing advocacy for volunteerism in our programs. Volunteering in Alberta and in Canada, it's shifted in the last few years, and how volunteerism looks in recruiting volunteers is you have to use a lot of different methods. And so just being the support and understanding what we're up to, so you can advocate, or when you're speaking to a community member who is interested in volunteering, being able to provide feedback about what we're up to and give them that insight. Also assisting us in identifying any partnerships that are in play, whether it's through a business or a corporation or another nonprofit, so that, again, we can just enhance our impact. And then community engagement. So yourselves being able to be a part of what we have going on in any capacity possible, and supporting our fundraising efforts, and just being there to help us put a smile on youth faces and volunteers' faces in the community. So we appreciate your time, and we will look forward to continue our work together to make a difference in the lives of children and families in the community. So thank you so much. Yeah, and then just wanted to know if you had any questions. I think my goal is June. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be a little biased because I have a little inside when it comes to that, but that was pretty fun. I hope that one happens again. I did get the opportunity to go up in the helicopter and got a bird's eye view of our community, which is not something that I've ever been able to do before. It was a lot of fun, so I am excited that that's something that's likely to come back to our community, I hope.
Yes,
Again?
It's set to come back. It really drew in new relationships with families and different community members, and so we really seen it as a huge benefit, and to host it here. And you guys were really welcoming to being able to have us. Actually, I think we pulled it off in 20 days, so it was really exciting. So yeah.
I know with that there was maybe what appeared to be a little bit of a stressful delay in terms of getting approval for that event to happen. I think I'm glad that you're pointing out the fact that you were pulling together that event in what is a lightning speed, 20 days.
Yes.
And nothing, generally happens in that amount of time. So I'm glad that could happen. But certainly let us know if there's anything that we can do to help streamline those processes within our control. I did have a question though. You do mention the Iron Ridge Secondary Campus, the new program that's starting this week. This is a new thing for our community as well, having that age group of our youth back in the community. Is there any particular challenges that poses for Big Brothers Big Sisters beyond the fact that it's a great opportunity, but being a new thing? Is there anything that's challenging that that program?
Yes, so the largest barrier we have experienced is providing transportation for the secondary campus to make it over to the elementary campus. That being said, it is only a few short minutes away by vehicle, but it wouldn't be doable in the time frame we need so that they could provide that 45 minutes to an hour of mentoring. So we have come up with a solution for this till the end of the school year that will work for us as an organization, but it is I would say it is outside of our normal realm of transportation costs. And as we proceed working with our sponsors and our donors and stuff like that, it will be highlighted and seeing if we can get support with that, and also just keep connecting with different individuals to see if we can continue to solve that problem.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just want to give you an opportunity to put that out there, because you never know who's listening or watching that may be a partner in terms of providing transportation or sponsoring some sort of transportation. I know that it's not something that's within the possibility that the town has, but there's certainly people that are living in our community or do business in our community that hopefully will step up and be able to assist in that.
Yeah.
Another thing that's changed that I've taken note of, I think Councillor Appel would be able to speak a little bit on, is that the Chamber of Commerce in Blackfalds has joined forces with the Lacombe Chamber of Commerce. I know that Big Brothers Big Sisters is always seeking partnerships and sponsorships from the business community. So if there's any way that our representative on council or our economic development officer can help, maybe bridge that relationship and gain some partnerships for your organization, please feel free to reach out.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, I'll just thank you for your time. Oh, I do see, Councillor Swell.
I just wanted to comment. I just want to thank you guys for being a part of our community. Seeing the growth from 90 to 211 kids, that also means volunteers. And volunteers are at the heart of our community, and they're the heart of our kids. So I just want to appreciate them too. So please let them know that we are very grateful for all the work that they're doing with our children.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. We will.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, moving on to business items. Business item 6.1, request for decision on the Community Initiatives Grant application from Frazier's Next Level Coaching.
Thank you, Worship and Council. For these next three items, just have to keep this in mind. The Community Initiatives Grant, we had a budget amount of $17,000 in that budget for this grant program. Now, speaking specifically to this grant, so Frazier Benoit, he's a former world arm wrestling participant and a national champion. He's here locally, and he is wanting to bring the arm wrestling Alberta Provincial Championships to the Eagle Village Center on May 3rd. It's happening regardless of this grant. We discussed this at the February 5th Recreation Board meeting. Again, this is a for-profit organization that's looking for $1,500. And just by looking at their budget, they are currently anticipating a deficit of $1,100, but they do intend on providing some funds to the Tools for Schools program. So with that, if council has any questions or comments.
Questions, comments? Councillor Appel.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Parkowicz, I'm just wondering if we've heard anything back regarding receiving a letter from the Arm Wrestling Alberta to confirm their, I guess, like approval or participation in this provincial event.
Yeah, when I asked of that letter, they said that there wasn't a provincial arm wrestling body. There's
Okay.
a Canadian body, but I'm not sure that they said that there wasn't a provincial one that they know of. So I'm not sure how they determine where provincials are held or how that is determined, but that's what I got. So.
Okay. Just the only reason I'm asking is just because before we didn't have, or not before, but when this was discussed at Rec Board, we didn't have like a association name, but then in reading this discussion, it looks like Arm Wrestling Alberta might be potentially the body, or if Arm Wrestling Canada, I assume, if there's like
Yeah.
a national group, like just some sort of confirmation that the people participating in this event, like it would be recognized as a provincial level event.
Yes, and we can always check with the federal body. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, we do have a administrative recommendation. Yep. No other questions? Anybody want to bring this one forward? Councillor Sands.
I just have a kind of a question, comment, sorry, before that, but just curious that this was, this event is going to take place regardless of this grant being given. So, I'm just wondering, they said they'll have a $1,100 deficit, is that what,
Yeah,
is
when you look at the budget right now, it's saying $1,100 deficit, but that's with this grant being provided as well. So
Right.
if this grant wouldn't be provided, then it'd be $2,600 deficit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I mean, is this, as Councillor Appel said, there is no actual regulation or regulator of this in the province, is that right?
Not that we knew of.
Right,
So,
yeah.
but we are meeting with like the national body at a conference coming up, so we know that they are around.
Right,
So,
yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm a little hesitant, now that when this came in and I read through it. Yeah, without that regulation or anything like that, I'm not sure, that I'm comfortable. The only reason being is because with say minor hockey or minor baseball, minor football, gymnastics, that type of thing, there's always kind of somebody looking at it. There's always somebody that's benefiting in the town. And I don't see it here because this may be just a bunch of people getting together to do this, and to coach us, and no doubt this guy is no doubt legitimate, trained and stuff like that. So I'm just a little hesitant on it, and for that reason, I will be voting against this tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Schwab.
Okay, so I'm going to speak about an event I attended in Blackfalds this weekend. With badminton, my daughter's participated in the very first badminton tournament that she's participated in. And there's only 3 kids in our community that I know of that participated in that tournament. The rest were from somewhere in Alberta, and they do have a provincial Alberta site where I just Googled this one and they don't. But it drew a lot of people to our community. Like, if you attended the Abbey Center this weekend, the bleachers were packed. And this is going to do that for our community. And it's bringing so many other people in. The downside of what I didn't like about the tournament is the town does not advertise that there's something in our community happening where kids that maybe like the sport in the school aren't able to come and look at it because they don't even know it's there. So when I posted it on my Facebook account, I did have people read it, ask me questions, and they did come in attendance and support my daughter, but they also were there to learn about the sport. And I think having this in our community would be a great opportunity. Dance, gymnastics, people pay to go and do that same group. It's a business, just like this one. So, yes, I don't know if dance has an Alberta, provincial thing. I don't know if gymnastics does either, but they're a business just like this guy. So I don't see it being any different. Sports are all nonprofit, where the other ones are profits. And I think this would be great for our community to have the exposure for arm wrestling for our kids, because there might be people in our community that are actually interested in this sport and have no idea how to go about trying it out or where their next steps is. So I think it's great. I do agree with Councillor Pell, though. It would be nice to have a letter. If we can't get one from the Alberta Provincial Championship one, why not the Canadian Championship one? At least there's some kind of nonprofit attached to it so that we are actually able to give the money, because I do think it would be great to have that attachment. So, but I do appreciate this.
Thank you. Now, I think 2 years we've had arm wrestling at Blackfalds Days. Is this the same
Yep.
person that's done
Same
that?
person.
And they're not receiving any grant for the tournament that they're holding or the competition that they're holding during Blackfalds Days.
No.
And we've advertised that as an event for Blackfalds Days, which I know I've attended both of those. The first year wasn't a lot of spectators, but it did draw quite a few competitors from surprisingly far away in the province, and many of them were the first time experiencing our community. And I would assume that a lot of those same competitors came back again, and it was a little bit more well attended, I think, the second year. So, whereas it is a fair question to ask, what is it that this is bringing? I think knowing that they've contributed towards Blackfalds Days, which is it's an introductory to a sport that I think to many people is still fairly obscure. You could almost consider that a cultural experience to see that. I can tell you, I was really surprised by the level of competition by people you would never think were that strong. But so in that respect, the fact that they've contributed to Blackfalds Days 2 years in a row, are we expecting them to be part of this year's Blackfalls Days as well?
Yes.
So in a secondary benefit that we get as a community is another opportunity to draw people to our community, maybe draw them back to Blackfalds during Blackfalds Days if they enjoy what they see in this competition. I think that's, for me, a relatively small price to draw some exposure to the community. Yeah. Thank you for answering that. Who was it? Councillor Dennis.
Is it possible to send it back to this?
Rec Board, I think.
I can't even talk.
Frazier.
and get clarification on it.
Sure. Yeah.
And at the same time, can we get the form?
Yeah, the
They
new
can
form.
resubmit a form saying that they're for profit and what there's, just so that we can have variance when it comes to our council package, so we're aware of non or profit, either or.
So just on that respect, I would say if that's your thought process, then that would be likely a good opportunity to make a motion to that effect, if that's what you were hoping. But we do have other questions, comments, but it's being that that's your thought process, keep that, just bookmark that.
I was just wondering, so this was considered the provincial championship. So I'm assuming that there is some type of
Yeah, I'm not sure. They could just call them Alberta Championships, right? And there might not be a provincial body that determines that, right?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And I appreciate what everybody has said with what they've done. But if we could do that, then I'd be in favor of that. And that way we could still potentially move forward with that for sure.
Yeah, thank you. And just as a side note, I mean, I think arm wrestling has been a bit of a obscure but present sport or competition in Alberta for a number of years. I think back, I don't want to age myself a little bit, but I can remember back when I was in college, there was the world champion was college with me, and he was in that Sylvester Stallone movie, did a cameo. So at that time, we had a pretty high profile arm wrestler in our province. So it would surprise me that there's no provincial. Well, maybe not surprise me. If there is a national body, obviously that's what he would have been representing throughout that. But it's not that there isn't people that have been competing in this for a long time. So it would be interesting to know what kind of people, in addition, that this could draw than what we experienced at Blackfalds days. But that said, Councillor Dennis.
Well, I'd like to arm wrestle this.
Hey.
So I would like to make a motion that we contact Frazier's Next Level Coaching to get them to resubmit an application for this grant and have the amended grant application for profit and whatnot, and detail of what they're going to give back to the community, and any clarification to clarify any of the questions that we had tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Does that kind of make sense?
So we're referring this back to administration for clarification or a resubmission?
Yeah,
Thank you.
please.
Debate or discussion? Discussion, I don't need to necessarily plan it, but I think it'd be worth, suggesting the fact that they're coming back during Blackfalds days as one of those, highlighting that as a contribution. But I'd love to know what their specific contribution to the community would be, being that is part of this policy. So that said, the motion, everybody understands that we're referring it back. No other debate or discussion. I call the question. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. And just before we move on to the next item, your delegation's free to stay, but you don't feel obligated to sit through all of this if you don't want. You can leave if you want, but feel free to stay. Or we can wrestle you, yeah. Well, fair enough. Moving on to 6.2, request for decision on community initiative grant application for cold-blooded cold horn.
Cornhole, yes.
Cornhole.
Yes.
Horn.
So
I'm just going to read the teleprompter like Anchorman, right? Cornhorn.
No.
Cornhorn.
So this is a group that's based out of Lacombe. They include some members from Blackfalds and all across central Alberta. They are looking to host a regional tournament in the Eagle Builder Center in June, and they are looking to, they're requesting, $1,360. That basically offsets the cost of rental fees if you look at their budget. And this again was brought forward at the March 5th Recreation and Culture and Parks Board meeting. So, and they were in support of that. So to council for questions, comments, recommendation.
Thank you. Questions, comments? I guess first question, if we were to approve these three, obviously one has been referred back, but if we were to approve these, what would be remaining in that grant?
As 12,000 some. I can't remember the
Okay.
So just over 12,000.
Okay. Yeah, because that's always, my question, because this is fairly early on in the year for application, as long as we're not depleting this in its entirety. Councillor Schwab.
I think it's great to have a different sport come to our community, for everybody to actually go out and see what it's all about. And I hope it's advertised so that the community will be able to go out and support it and be able to try it. I think it's great. I think it'll bring in new people into our community just to be able to see this. I think it would be great for the kids to see what this is. I have never seen it, so I'm kind of looking forward to checking it out too. So I think it's awesome. So I'm definitely in favor of this one.
Councillor Pell.
Thank you. So I just had two comments on this one that I just wanted to mention because they were discussed at the rec board, but I noticed they're not actually included in their application, those details. The first one being that attendance to watch this would be free. The pricing that they have in there is only for teams that are entering the competition. And secondly, there was a mention that they'll have an option for spectators to try out the sport at the conclusion of the tournament,
Throughout the tournament, I think.
or
Yeah.
throughout the
Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah.
Even better. Wonderful. Thank you.
Councillor Dennis.
I think it's a great opportunity because all age groups can do this. Like, I think it's so diverse. Like, old people, like me, can go in that.
Probably rule the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no old age limit on it.
you're somewhat less excited about arm wrestling, though.
That's right.
I agree with that. I think this is something that we're seeing happen. People bring their own setups. I think the seniors, in fact, set this up at our community center, and they've recently, when they invited some kids from the schools, they held a little mini tournament with the students, and it was pretty fun. I'm so actually surprised that we don't have a cornhole facility in our community. I'm sure that it's been brought up before, but maybe this will initiate some discussion with that. They have their own, and they use it inside, yeah. I think there's been discussion of, somebody's, I've heard discussing maybe wanting to put one in that, near that building, but it's very popular. I agree with everyone in terms of that, so I would certainly support it. All right, any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation. Councillor Schwab.
I'll move that council provides funding to the cold-blooded cornhole from the community initiatives grant in the amount of $1,360.
Cornhole, not cornhole, horn. Debate or discussion on that motion? All in favor? Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Coulter, I haven't been watching. Have I ignored you putting your hand up at all? I hope not. If not, please make some noise. Thank you. Take care. So that's unanimous.
It's all been the same as everybody so far.
Thank you. Moving on to 6.3, request for decision on the community initiative grant application for the Heart of Blackfalds Society.
Yes, so the Heart of Blackfalds Society is a recent society. They're the ones that put the heart out in front of the Abbey Center for the Love Heart Locks program. They're hoping to run a family street dance on August 21st. The family street dance was an event that used to be held in Blackfalds as part of Blackfalds Days in the early 2000s, I think, is when it stopped. So what the event would have is basically what they're looking to do: music, dancing, bouncy castles, drunk tank, games. And they were hoping to encourage local businesses, organizations to participate as well. I did note in here that there's an error. I probably copied and pasted from the other one, but it's $1,360. It's actually $2,000 that they're requesting. And of course, we did discuss this at the March 5th Recreation, Culture, and Parks Board meeting, and they were in support of it. So with that, back to you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Appel.
Thank you. So through the chair to the director. So the grant that the Heart of Blackfalds Society is asking for is just to pay for the dunk tank, some other games, and the candy. However, for the rest of the remainder of the event, the town of Blackfalds is hosting it and paying for it because it's through our summer culture series.
That's
so
correct.
what I guess what I'm trying to say is all of the funds other than this $2,000 would be paid for out of our budget for the summer culture series.
Yes.
So I guess my question is this: in the other events and groups and things that have grants that have come forward, it's sort of something that the town isn't already doing, and it's bringing like larger scale events to the town. But this, like, it just kind of seems like it's it's part of an event that we're already hosting and doing as a community. So what is the difference between having this group request the funding that we would pay for a dunk tank, or us just doing it because we're already hosting a large event?
Well, part of it is just helping with the organization of the actual event too. So, and trying to garner more interest from the community. So, money-wise, not much of a difference in that we're providing the money to them. But again, they are then taking this and organizing that aspect of it. Town staff aren't. And really, this grant, part of it was for events like Blackfalds Days. If somebody wanted to, you know,
Take
have a
over the
component of
parade
Blackfalds
or-
Days, this grant would support that. So while it is our event, we still are looking for other people to pitch in and provide support.
Gotcha. Okay, yes, okay, thank you.
Councillor Sands.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Appel. I was trying to put the words in while you were talking, but I couldn't either. But I agree. Yeah, I do like the idea for sure, and for the organization of, you know, the Hearts of Blackfalds Society, to have their name out there. They've done good things in this community. You know, so far that we know of, and yeah, I definitely support trying to get their name out there a little bit more, and also help with that type of thing. So I'm in favor.
Councillor Swab.
I'm just looking forward to a street dance. We haven't had one of these ones that were on the Broadway since my kids were little, and they were fun. And to have 2 blocks blocked off is going to be great, because back then the population was probably 2/3 less. I think this is going to be a great opportunity, especially with back to school. It'll be great for families to come out, meet new people in our community. And it's not tied in with Blackfalds Days, which is nice, because every time it was, we'd get rain and we'd have to go to the arena. So I think this will be great. As long as the weather holds, we'll be dancing the night away. So yeah, I think it's an amazing opportunity for our community. So I'm in favor of it too.
Thank you. So, yeah, Councillor Schwab's question kind of ties in, or it kind of leads into what my question was, because it's kind of before my time, certainly before my time on council, but it is my understanding that it's something that was an event that the town put on. Now, I don't know if this is something that happened during your time or your tenure with the town. I was just kind of curious, what was the cost, and how much time for town employees was this committing back in the day when this happened?
So when I was here, they did have a couple of street dances, and like Councillor Swab said, it did get rained out and we had to move to the arena. So staffing level there, then you're grabbing them or setting up tables and or chairs and stage. Typically, when I was involved, it was just a band, and I don't know if there was much else. There might have been like some concession stuff, but I don't think there was a lot of, like, there weren't carnival games, I don't think, when in the last time I did it, or we were involved with it. But this will be going back to how it used to be like 20 years ago kind of thing. So.
Sure, yeah.
So
I'm just getting answer
is it
first.
okay if I
before
can
your question.
answer? So back in the day, it was the fire department. It was their barbecue, and they would have a tent, and the community would go out. There was, I don't know if it was just a radio or who was playing the music. I can't remember that far back. I don't know if the town was involved in the one in the August, but they would have been involved in the one with Blackfalds Days. So, but that's all I can recall. So hopefully that helps. But I also think being on Broadway, there's potential for, we wouldn't have to have porta potties out there, because there's businesses that could probably open up their business for people to actually use the bathrooms too, which would save us. So
I mean, thanks, a little bit assumption there, but certainly worth asking. Councillor Dennis.
Actually, when I was on council in the 90s, way back. Yeah. we used to have a street dance, and it was hosted by the town, and it was right on the street in front of the old post office, in front of the
Yeah.
apartment building. And they had it as an annual one. It was after they paved all the streets. And they paved just prior to the post office blowing up. And then, so it would have been early 90s. I think it blew up in 91. But we had it for quite a few years there. And it was a DJ.
I guess my only concern in this is the likelihood, obviously raining out is a big part of this. Although this, as is pointed out by Councillor Pell, is going towards a dunk tank, which I don't think would be all that impacted by rain. In fact, that would probably make it more interesting. So, from the sounds of it, this is something that has happened in our community and has been well supported in our community. When this was mentioned, when the Heart of Blackfalds Society was formed, they indicated to me this is something they were thinking about, and I thought, well, that's good, because I've heard numerous people say they wish that something like this could happen in our community, and I would suggest this will probably bring out more people than many of the events that we hold as a town. So certainly sounds like a great opportunity to give back for a relatively small amount, and I would imagine that in-kind staff time to hold an event like this would easily be $2,000. The only other side of this, I think, that it does take away from other events when this is something that perhaps could have come out of a different budget. But the big thing for me is that it's not taking away time, which is from our staff, which they're pushed to their limit, I think, during these events. So, all right. Any other questions or comments before we entertain the motion? Seeing none, is someone prepared to move? Councillor Sands.
I will move that council provides funding to the Heart of Blackfalds Society from the Community Initiatives Grant in the amount of $2,000.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? Councillor Coulter, any questions, debate?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. I call the question. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, was that everybody? Was this unanimous? I didn't see your hand up. It must have gone. Okay, thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 6.4, the Blackfalds Policing Committee.
Good evening, Your Worship, councils. Here before you today, this evening, in 2022, the provincial government passed Bill C-6, which was the Police Amendment Act. I know we've had conversations over the last couple of years about it and the effects. Legislation required the municipalities in Alberta establish civilian governance bodies. Beautiful thing about Blackfalds is we already had one in place, our policing committee. The purpose of the governance bodies was to provide an opportunity to communities to participate in setting policing priorities and performance goals with police of jurisdiction, in this case the RCMP. Prior to Bill C-6 coming into effect, the formation of policing committees was optional. Town of Blackfalds chose to form their own committee in 2011. This police governance regulation came into effect March 1st, 2025. The regulation requires that every community in Alberta served by the RCMP, depending on their size and type of police service agreement, is required to be represented on either a provincial police advisory board. This is for communities under 5,000 population. Municipal policing committee, which they set the bar here at 15,000 or greater population. And the third one was regional policing committee, and they provided an option for the communities that fall into this group to opt out and establish their own municipal committee. Town of Blackfalds falls under number 3 and has had an active policing committee, as I said, under the authority of bylaw 1125 since 2011. Committee is further governed by their own policing committee policy manual, which was completed in 2024. The current policing committee has provided an effective level of civilian governance with local policing since its establishment and has a very good relationship with the RCMP and enforcement services. Committee has been active in bringing forward community concerns to local law enforcement, as well as providing valuable insight into priorities within the community. As noted, the town falls into the category of municipality with population under 15,000 and has two choices: either to enter a regional committee or to maintain its own community or own committee. To opt out of a regional committee would require the town to submit a letter to Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services seeking approval to opt out. The Regional Policing Committee boundaries are broken down into 4 regions, which are based on the 4 RCMP districts that currently operate within the province. And as we all know, those are very large areas. The regional area would be quite substantially large, referenced by the attachment included in this report. I provided a map for council to review. Both the town of Innisfell and the town of Rocky Mountain House, for example, have chosen to opt out of the Regional Policing Committee. And others are looking into it as well. Administration recommends that council seek the minister's approval in maintaining the current policing committee that has been in existence since 2011. I have been in conversation with the RCMP detachment here, and they are in support of this as well. I've spoken with Staff Sergeant Andrew Allen as well as Sergeant Brent Dewick, and they support staying with our policing committee as well. If approval is received, both the current policing committee bylaw and police committee policing manual will require minor updates, however very insignificant. When you look at the changes that are made, the main change that was made was requiring all communities to have some sort of police governance, which I'm very much in support of. I think that's an excellent step forward for the community to have a say in how things are policed, whatever size the community is. For you is the administrative recommendation and alternatives if you don't deem that letter be written. The council send a letter to the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis, requesting to opt out of the Regional Policing Committee and to maintain the current Town of Blackfalds Policing Committee.
Questions, comments? Councillor Schwab.
I think we should keep our policing committee. We've had a lot of good outcomes come from our policing committee and a lot of great volunteers. And it's about our community. If we are in a regional committee, it's not going to be about our community anymore. And I think that would be it wouldn't be a great atmosphere to be in, just because it's not about Blackfalds anymore. So I know we have a lot of problems still within our town that we need to deal with the policing committee. And I think it's just great if we keep it the way it is.
The other thing of interest, keeping with that, is we would only have 1 or 2 representatives on a regional committee as opposed to having the size that we currently have and having council input as well.
Councillor Pell.
Thank you. I just had a question. How often, because as we're currently not a member of the not a member, as we don't currently sit on a regional board for a Central Alberta district, how often do we hear, like through the RCMP, what the regional issues are in that district?
Well, we receive the policing statistics, and that is something as well that I think when we bring the detachment commander quarterly to the to council meetings, that may be something he could report on. And I think he touched on it on his last visit to council, he spoke briefly about how Blackfalds is doing and the comparison. I think he compared to one of our neighboring larger communities. And so most definitely he would be open to something like that, I'm fairly certain. And I know he does answer such questions at the policing committee.
Okay. No, thank you. So that's wonderful because, yeah, well, I agree. It'd be beneficial for us to be kept up to date with the regional event. I worry that in a district this large, Blackfalds would just get lost. So I'm definitely also in favor of keeping our our community municipal policing committee. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I agree that having a local committee, it's been fairly effective. I guess the one concern or question that I've had here that hasn't been clearly answered, even at the Alberta Municipalities Leaders Caucus, the Minister of Public Safety spoke, and my understanding is that with the changes with victim services, that victim services is going to be more regionalized as well. I'm wondering, do we know how that will impact victim services for our detachment or our region? Will we have any ability to have people sitting on that committee if we have our policing committee local?
I'm not sure how it is attached to victim services, but victim services is already regionalized. And
Yeah, I know that was a recent change. And as I said, I don't entirely understand. I know the question was raised with the minister, and I didn't know how to interpret the answer. I thought maybe you had a little bit more information on that, because that's a relatively new change as well, and we don't have local representation with it, as far as I know, with victim services.
we still have them working out of the Blackfalds detachment here. I know the two advocates, or whatever they're calling them now, I can't recall whether they've changed the name, but the 2 or 3 advocates are still based out of Blackfalds detachment as well. They have a manager there. I'm not sure if she's the regional director. I could find out her title, but I've spoken with her regularly, and it seems to be working. And beauty of it is they're there, and they still have an excellent relationship with the detachment.
Okay, yeah, that's just one of those changes that left me a little bit concerned about whether or not we would have the same level of service from victim services. Even if we had level of service, whether we'd have representation, because that seems to be that they're clawing back funding for victim services fairly regularly, and not having local representation is a disadvantage. And I don't know that there's been a good explanation other than the presentation that we got from, it's probably 3 years ago now, from our local representation. And that was just prior to that becoming regionalized.
Yeah, the big change, I think, was the board, regionalizing the board. I could ask that they come to a council meeting and maybe provide us an update as to how things are moving, and whether there's anything we as a town can do to assist them in the process as well.
Yeah, I think that would be nice for us to understand now that it's been a couple of years that they've moved into a regional board. Now, in terms of the committee, do we know with the changes whether the responsibilities of that committee will change? Will there be a need for adding a budget to what they're doing in order to meet any obligations?
There is a requirement to have a budget. We have kind of had a ad hoc budget in place for training. It's sitting over in the RCMP budget, and provides a certain amount of money for, I think it's $5,000 we've got sitting there, that allows for committee members to attend conferences and any other sort of training that comes up. At this point in time, that has been working, but actually we've got our committee meeting tomorrow night, and that's one of the things I'm going to be bringing up with them. Is there are a couple significant changes that we do need to make. One of them is look at budgeting. 2 is a yearly report to council as well as when required to the Solicitor General. So those are sort of things that we're going to have to do sort of some housekeeping a bit to get in line. And those things are already actually in our policy. But as I said, it was completed in 2024 to meet the requirements that were in place. So.
Thank you. Councillor Pell.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, I'm prepared to move. Doesn't look like anyone else was jumping for their mic. So I'd like to move that council send a letter to the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis, requesting to opt out of the Regional Policing Committee and to maintain the current Town of Blackfalds Municipal Policing Committee.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor?
Thank you.
And is unanimous. Thank you. And then moving on to 6.6, the request for decision on policies for rescinding.
No,
6.5, request for decision, remuneration and
we're missing
compensation.
the most important thing.
Oh.
You guys all want to get paid, right?
That's the future council's problem,
That's right, yes. Future problem, future you problem, maybe. At the February 18th, 2025 Standing Committee of Council meeting, the amended council remuneration compensation policy was reviewed by council, and direction was provided to bring the policy forward with the noted amendments as per council discussion. Notable changes to the policies are applied principles for equitable and fair compensation to represent the roles and responsibilities of elected officials, the addition of 4 principles that could be applied to assist with establishing fair compensation, options for conducting the review. The draft policy provides 3 options to determine how the council remuneration and compensation review will be completed. The first option being an administrative review, the second option being a third-party review, and the third option being a committee or task force review. We've also reorganized items and we deleted some administrative details to provide the Chief Administrative Officer with latitude to determine additional administrative resources based on an individual workloads and priorities. We also changed the terms of reference template. The terms of reference for the Council Remuneration Review Committee was moved into a format that administration is recommending to be used for committees. In addition to seeking a resolution from Council to adopt the policy, administration will be seeking direction from Council on the manner in which to conduct the review and the specific comparators to be used as part of the review. The policy outlines that Council can choose between 3 options, which I referenced previously. In 2021, the review was conducted via option 3. A report provided to Council in 2023 recommended that an independent review be conducted on the Council remuneration policy. To date, that review has not been completed. The policy outlines that analysis will be completed on comparative municipalities that align within the town of Blackfalds within a plus or 10% median of compensation from the Municipal Measurement Index. And I included below that there are 66 municipalities that fall within that range. In 2021, the following municipalities were used, which are outlined in Table 1. Quite a few. In review of the above, it was felt that in addition to comparators within the Red Deer region, that additional comparators with populations that were closer to the size of Blackfalds may provide more benefit to the review. So we have listed those below in Table 2 for Council's consideration. Council can determine between a mix between the 2 comparators, 2 comparator lists, sorry. So you can either look at these comparators here on Table 2, or you can do a combination of this list and the list above. Funds have been budgeted to utilize external consultants to assist with the review if council wishes to proceed in that manner. So there are a number of motions there that council will need to consider. So I'll open this up to any questions as I stumbled through that.
Councillor Appel.
Thank you. You did great. You didn't stop a little. So I guess just my question is regarding the recommendation we received in 2023 that an independent review be conducted on our policy. I wonder if is that something we're able to do at the same time? Like, so if we were to go with options 2 or 3, either third party or task force, would we be able to accomplish both of those things together?
I believe we could, because we have been utilizing Hillcrest in the past, so we would consider them as doing that independent review because they're the ones that are going out. They'll be seeking feedback from these other municipalities. And we could also ask them to provide their findings to the committee that council establishes, that volunteer committee of our residents.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Councillor Schwab.
That was exactly what I was going to ask, so I'm glad we're on the same page with that. I am definitely in favor of that.
Thank you. Councillor Sands.
Ditto.
Now, if we look at doing a combination, are you looking for direction on which municipalities, or should we just, we're just going to set plus or minus population thresholds for what falls
Yeah,
into
so
that?
what I'm hoping that I would get from you who those comparators would be. So that is, that number 4 is that council directed administration to utilize the comparators outlined in whichever table, or if you wanted to do a combination of the two.
Because, you know, my thought process was just looking at, you know, a population threshold of, you know, something like minus 2,000 and plus
And you could,
4,000 or something like that, because, you know, we're pretty confident that our population's not going to shrink. Yeah, we're probably looking at growing, which means that I think we would be prudent to look at a little bit higher populations as opposed to
the lower.
lower populations, but, you know, still there's some comparisons with some of them closer. So I don't know if we want to necessarily go through this list, but it would be my thought to say something to that effect, is compared to municipalities, a combination of municipalities within this list, within a population of minus, I don't know, again, arbitrarily, I'm putting out there saying 2,000 less, 4,000 more,
Okay.
whatever fits within that range, because I expect that we're going to, especially over the next term, probably grow a couple of thousand in terms of population would be my expectation. Councillor Pell.
And there are a number of communities that are on both of those
Yeah.
lists anyway, so I
Yeah.
think they're both give us a good idea of, or not they both, either one would give us a good idea of the numbers we're looking for.
We should, just so that we'd only use about 12, because going out to, that's a pretty onerous task for, so we would choose about 12 is kind of what they're recommending. I think there was 14 the last time, and a lot of people opt out. So maybe we can say 14, because in case we get a couple that opt out, then they'll still get the 12 good comparisons.
Yeah, thank you. You know, now thinking about it again, though, I mean, there's also the factor of, you know, populations, or comparing ourselves to populations that are continuing to grow, or municipalities that are seeing growth. I think those are more reasonable to compare to as well, as opposed to, you know, I don't mean to, I'm hesitant to call out one, but I look at Wetaskiwin, for example. Wetaskiwin is a little bit larger, but I don't think that their population is growing as fast, and so, you know, maybe they're closer, but somewhere farther away that's closer in population, but it may not be as close in population, but is growing in a similar way, might be a better comparator. So I'd have to really struggle to look at this myself and try and pick out, you know, municipalities that I think would suit that. I would be fine with leaving that up to you, I think.
Okay.
Councillor Swab?
Looking at the two tables, I prefer table 2 because it's more central to us, where everything else is kind of northern or southern. So table 2 to me is the best alternative, I think.
Yeah, and that's where we get to the idea of finding municipalities that are having similar trends to what's happening in our municipality, where they're growing quickly, and they're experiencing similar challenges and gonna likely experience similar challenges in terms of attracting quality council members. So, but I'm open. Is there specific? We could maybe name a few of them that I think that we should for sure have on this that council feels should be on this list. As I wouldn't look at 1 versus 2 as being perfect. It would be a blend of. Councillor Swab?
The ones that I would take out are like the town of Hinton, the town of Morinville, town of Whitecourt, anything north. They're too far north. They're not really by the major centers, and they're probably not growing as fast as we are. So I think those ones would be good to eliminate.
And I was, my thought as well, somewhere like Hinton is going to be a bit of an anomaly, I would think, with Jasper being impacted. They're housing a lot of people this for next couple of years. They're going to have a bit of a larger population and people that are transient, unfortunately, as a result. So I don't know that they'd be a great comparator. But Strathmore, Brooks is a little far away, but mind you, Brooks is shrinking in population, I think, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
15,000, so.
Yeah, so they're within that.
Camrose is a little bigger than I think we would, but it's not that many years out that we're looking at. Different demographic, I think, significantly demographic, so I don't know that they'd necessarily be the ideal comparator there. I don't know, your thoughts since you came from that?
Yeah, that was
municipality?
actually one of the ones that Hillcrest had given. It is a different demographic, but it's also really changing too. So that's one of the things that it used to be where you were seeing a lot more retired, but I do think that that demographic is changing where they are bringing in younger younger family members. And so I do think that that is changing. It has changed a lot. I know when I was recently back there, their businesses are increasing quite a bit. So I do think that it is a potential, but yeah, that was one of the ones that Hillcrest had recommended.
And I'm inclined to listen to what a consultant that's doing this on a regular basis, they're going to see trends. So I don't know that I would feel competent to say these are the only municipalities that we should look at. So if you want to say if you're picking 12 or 14 within these two tables that you yourself and the consultant feel are the best comparators, that I would be comfortable with that.
So then we would be looking at, so then we would just need the first 3 motions, which is, the first one is to rescind the policy because we've updated this. And then we want you to adopt the new policy, and then that administration be directed to utilize, I believe that was option 3. So those are the 3 recommendations that I would need you, and then we can move forward with administration. I'll move forward with finding the comparators for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I have no more questions or comments, and I agree with that, but I'll give it a last opportunity for other questions. Spam. Okay. Councillor Swab.
I'll move that council rescind policy 156/21, council remuneration and compensation, effective immediately.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? Councillor Coulter? Nothing? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Sands?
I will, I'll move that council adopt council policy, CP 189.25, council remuneration and compensation as presented.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. you had your light on. Thank you. Councilor Pell.
Thank you. I move that administration be directed to utilize option 3, task force review, as outlined as the council remuneration and compensation policy to conduct the 2025 council remuneration and compensation review.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Now moving on to 6.6, the request for decision on policies for rescinding.
So as council's aware, we have been reviewing our policies and updating policies, and as part of that, we have identified that there are some policies that are no longer required. So we have the community event sign, which there was a policy was initially adopted in 2010. However, since that time, a new policy has been adopted. This policy was not rescinded when the new policy was brought forward in 2023. We also have a public facility spitting policy, which has now been brought into the community standards bylaw. So this policy could be rescinded as well. We have an aquatic center closure policy. This is an operational policy, and as such can fall under the administrative procedure, which we would then put under the community services framework policy. So this, I have included all the policies there. If you look at that policy, it basically kind of talks about when the pool is going to be shut down due to various factors, environmental factors. So we felt that's very much a administrative thing. We're not going to call up council and say, hey, council, can we close because, you know, it's too hot or whatever. So Abbey Center acceptable usage policy, and this is another one of those that is an administrative policy that we feel does not need to be a council policy. Moving it to an administrative policy allows us to be able to adjust as needed without having to bring it back to council. The other one is Code of Conduct and Ethics for Municipal Employees policy. So as council is aware, we had moved all of our human resources policies under administrative policies as the chief administrative, the CAO bylaw grants me authority to establish human resources policies, which would also include the governing of the actions of employees. This policy has been transferred to an administrative policy and falls under the Council Human Resources Framework policy. We have a Civic Center and FCSS facility visitation, security, and identification policy. So this is basically when somebody is coming into the building, we are asking them to sign in so we know who's in the building. Again, this is not required to be a council policy. We also have a municipal facility access control policy, and that's basically a key fob policy for employees who gets what type of keys. Again, this is very much an administrative policy, so we feel that this is something that can be rescinded. Administration is recommending that council rescind the above noted policies, which will assist with the ongoing cleanup and restructuring of policies as per the council policy governance framework, which was adopted by council in March 2023. So we do have a motion there for council to consider. Any questions?
I see none, have no questions. I think these have all been replaced by something that is currently being used. So, I think it's Councillor Pell?
Thank you. I will move the motion. However, beforehand, I would just like to say thank you and your team for work on this. Cataloging, updating old policies and procedures is thankless and sounds absolutely boring. So good job for your team, because it's a really important thing for our current community, but also for our future community to have these organized and proper so that everything's easy to find. So in saying that, I move council consider the following motion, that council rescind the following policies: the community event sign policy, public facility spitting policy, aquatic center closure policy 164.23, the Abbey Center acceptable usage policy 165.23, Code of Conduct and Ethics for Municipal Employees policy 128/16, the Civic Center and FCSS facility visitation, security, and identification policy 127/16, and the municipal facility access control policy 125/16.
Thank you. Bit of discussion. Actually, I just thought of a question I should have asked before that, and it's not going to change my vote on this, but the last one, the municipal facility access control policy,
Yes.
I think for council in particular, I don't know that it's something that council has ever told where that policy is, and I think given that there's an election coming up, that people running might think that, hey, if I run for council, I'll be able to have access to any building at any time I want, which is clearly not the case. So
Right.
just my suggestion would be that having a reference somewhere in the council package of, you know, what limitations that council has in terms of access.
Okay.
Because that was a surprise to me. And I've had people, actually residents, ask me, why don't I
But
have
you-
keys for, you know, the Abbey
Everything.
Center and go
Okay.
and work out at nighttime? I go, hey, I got one key and one place that I can go.
That's it.
And if I don't, I set off an alarm and they come and get me. But anyway, that said, that's
Okay.
just a comment. No other debate or discussion, I call the question. Oh, Councillor Coulter. Yes, go ahead.
It's just sort of a silly little question, but on the community event signing policy and on the public facility spitting policy, why do we have no numbers after it? Were they not a numbered policy?
No, they were not at that time.
Pre-numbered.
Okay. I was just curious, there's numbers on everything else.
Yeah, the older policies didn't have numbers.
Thank you. I call the question. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. With that, we have no notice of motion. We have no confidential items. I will adjourn the meeting at 8:20. Thank you so much.